Hey folks, I can think of no better place to talk about patience than the back seat of the car while my wife is driving. So we're going to talk this week about why is patience so important. Well, Romans chapter 15 that we talked about last week in my article says that God is the God of all patience. And so if we're to be Christ-like, we should at least have some patience. Maybe not all, but some. Similarly, in Galatians chapter 5, part of the fruit of the Spirit is patience. So if God's Spirit is at work in our lives, we should be patient people. Patience also helps us to enjoy the journey. Not just life's journey, but also the homeschooling journey. When we're pushing too hard, when we're upset, when we're short-tempered, it just does not bode well for the homeschooling life. And on the same note, folks who are patient have a healthier lifestyle. Studies say that patient people tend to be less depressed, more optimistic, less negative. So that's a good physical reason as well to be very patient. Also, being patient helps us to relax with our kids in discovering their future roles. I know some of my girls, they knew what they wanted to do at 4, 5, 6 years old. My third daughter wanted to go to Ethiopia and do some missionary work and be a nurse, and she turned out to do that very same thing. Now my sons, on the other hand, have been a little bit slower. My oldest son just kind of wrestled about what to do when he started taking chemistry at about 16 years old. The light went off and boom, he wanted to be a chemical engineer. And so being patient helps us to just relax more and let our kids kind of come into their own according to God's timing. Being patient also helps us to make better decisions. When we're patient, we tend to be less emotional. I know sometimes those of us who are more choleric, who are more strong-willed, we can kind of push too hard at times, whereas patient folks tend to sit back, wait, look over the overall situation, and make a more informed and less emotional decision. Also, being patient helps us not to say things that we shouldn't say at the wrong time. I like these emails that people send. They send an email to the wrong person, especially if it's about that person in a negative sense. Then they type back, "Oh, please ignore." Like, yeah, that's going to happen, right? So once we say it, it cannot be taken back, and that's very important for us to remember in the homeschooling journey as well. And finally, when we're patient, I think it helps people around us to be patient. It just takes the stress off of people. If you heard my talks on my math experience with my kids, it wasn't good. I wasn't patient, and my kids did not do well in math for those 2 or 3 months. So patience benefits not just us, but those that we serve as well. So as you go through this month of April, we're coming down to the end of the homeschooling year for most homeschoolers. Take a second to reflect. Maybe engage with your kids. How patient do you think I am? Sometimes we think we're pretty patient when our kids might think just the opposite. So there'll be some time for some real soul searching. So I hope this makes sense. Hope this is a blessing. Get some good discussion started in your home. This is Kirk Smith with ICHE Take 5, being very patient in the back seat of my car.